This right here is the Asus Vivobook on pure steroids. The more appropriate name, of course, would be the Asus Vivobook Pro. And it's deserving of that title because it's got some pretty beefy specs. The latest configuration we have here is rocking Intel's Core 7 Ultra processor, 16GB of DDR5 memory. We also have a nice large 1TB SSD, NVIDIA's RTX 4060 GPU with 8GB of VRAM. We also have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5 standards. And finally, this is a 15-inch OLED panel. Now, this laptop promises to give you top-tier high-end productivity, and in today's review, we're going to see if the Asus Vivobook Pro has what it takes to earn your hard-earned cash. So let's get into it. When you purchase one of these nimble beasts, you basically get a standard-looking cardboard box, but it's what's inside that actually counts, right? Because when you open up the box behind some standard protective packaging, here it is, the Vivobook Pro in the flesh, but more on that in a quick minute. We also get a larger-than-life 200-watt charging adapter because this thing is seriously heavy-duty, so this totally makes sense. You've also got the standard wall-mounted charging cable piece, and then some basic documentation by Asus. The Vivobook Pro is a very symmetrical and linear looking laptop to the extent that it has a utilitarian look to it, and I personally think that's great. This is not a machine that's trying to be over the top. It's a heavy duty productivity machine, and it definitely looks the part. Thanks to that Earl Grey color over here, we really get that more business friendly tone going, and you do have a semi-premium finish thanks to a top half metallic exterior. And the machine does have a weight of about 4 pounds, which is totally expected again given the beefier specs, which also means you get a slightly more chunkier design compared to a more standard Vivobook, for example. Starting with the top side, like I mentioned, a metallic exterior, no unnecessary textures, smooth to the touch, and you even have some subtle branding here, which actually looks very nice. You also get exceptional port diversity here. So on one side, you've got the DC charging port, you've got a RJ45 port, a HDMI 2.1 port, a USB-A SuperSpeed port. You've also got two Type-C ports, one of which supports Thunderbolt 4 standards, a headphone jack on the other side, one more USB-A SuperSpeed port, and a full-size SD card reader. Not too shabby, eh? The bottom side of the laptop has a standard plastic finishing. You'll notice you have a nice, large, long air intake vent here. This is to accommodate Asus's dual fan Ice Cool Pro cooling system. And then you'll also notice you have two speaker grills, one on either corner, meaning this is a bottom firing setup. When you unfold this laptop, you're presented with a generous amount of palm rest space, which should be expected of a 16-inch device. You will notice you have a plastic inner chassis, but it's sturdy and well built. Additionally, at the center, you do have a plastic surface trackpad, though you've got plenty of surf real estate. You'll also notice Asus has a proprietary dial pad on the top left corner for some enhanced productivity. Now, while there is a little bit of flex on the actual trackpad itself, it's quite contained, and you have a lot of tactility, making for a pretty decent experience when using this thing. The keyboard on this thing is truly praiseworthy. Firstly, you've got nice large keycaps. The font is easy to read. That dual tone color system looks quite nice here. I also like the fact that you have a 10 keypad, again for some enhanced productivity. The keyboard is fully backlit, and the best part by far is the typing experience. You've got lots of key travel here. There's the right amount of tactility and softness, making for a phenomenal typing experience. This is definitely one of the best keyboards I've reviewed in 2024 on a laptop. We do have a nice high quality hinge mechanism here, which for the most part is wobble free. Additionally, it has a full 180-degree tilt. As far as display spacing is concerned, you definitely have a noticeable chin at the bottom, which could be toned down a little bit if we're being honest. Now you will notice on either side you have nice narrow side bezels, and then you have a moderately thin forehead at the top, and you'll also notice at the center you have a IR equipped 5 megapixel webcam that actually does quite nice across various lighting environments. The display, the display. The Vivobook Pro does not compromise. It's got a high quality 15-inch OLED panel, a crisp 3K resolution. It's also got a smooth 120Hz refresh rate, a 16:9 aspect ratio. We also, of course, get a 400 nits peak brightness with SDR content, and all the way up to 600 nits with HDR content, and a 0.2 millisecond response rate. In the color department, things are equally as impressive because we've got a DCI-P3 rating of 100%. 100% and a Delta E score of less than 1, making this great for creative purposes. A quick rundown on technical specifications with this machine. So we've got Intel's Core 7 Ultra processor, which can be configured with a higher end Core 9 Ultra processor. We do have 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. However, you can upgrade that all the way up to 24 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. And we do have NVIDIA's RTX 4060 GPU with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. You can also downgrade that with a RTX 4050 instead. Now, general productivity on this machine is going to be a very crisp and smooth experience. We don't have to entertain that too much really. More demand activities like program and code compilation, again, very fluid and very smooth thanks to the ample amount of system memory and processing power. Activities like 3D modeling and rendering, again, very much a fluid experience thanks to the ample amount of GPU horsepower with that RTX 4060. Even the most demanding of activities like multi-layer 4K video editing on programs like DaVinci Resolve, a totally smooth experience. I was able to stack up to 3 layers at a time without any noticeable frame drops. It isn't until you stack like 4 layers you start seeing minor frame drops in the real timeline rendering, which is pretty nice overall. Now, as far as gaming is concerned, this is ultimately a productivity laptop, but thanks to that RTX 4060, you can comfortably run games like Doom Eternal at near max settings, well above 100 frames per second pretty much consistently. And then of course games like Fortnite, for example, can be entirely maxed out running well over 100 FPS as well. Like with most other Intel Core Ultra machines, thermals have seen improvements. For example, under unrealistic peak loads, this device hit a maximum average surface temperature of 41 degrees Celsius, which is a couple degrees cooler than previous generations. We also hit a more realistic sustained load temperature of around 38 degrees Celsius, which is a pretty reasonable number for a machine like this. Thanks to a dual fan setup, the machine does stay cool. However, peak noise levels can hit all the way up to 55 decibels, and this does happen pretty frequently the minute you start running heavy-duty applications. We do get a pretty healthy degree of self-upgradability, so while one of the RAM slots is soldered with 8 gigabytes, the other one can be upgraded thanks to a DDR5 SODIMM slot, which can be capped at 16 gigabytes, bringing your total memory up to 24 gigabytes. Additionally, you do have 2 PCIe Gen 4 NVMe M.2 slots, one of which of course is preoccupied, but it's nice to have that option. And the Wi-Fi is also modular, so you can technically upgrade that as well. Equipped with a medium-sized 75 watt-hour battery, based on our real-world use case test, you can expect around 7.5 hours of runtime. That number obviously dramatically drops if you do other stuff like gaming or video editing, for example. Now, as far as the speaker quality is concerned, this is one of the better sounding bottom-firing setups I've seen. It gets pretty loud, distortion levels are pretty contained, though there isn't a lot of depth, so the bass is a little bit more on the subtle side. Here's a quick sound test for reference.
Heart's faking now. Yeah, she hates me now. I made mistakes, but now I don't ever wanna be alone. I don't really ever feel at home. On my own, in the zone. That's the only way I know. Feeling low, about to blow back up. Here I never let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more aspirin. I don't think I'll ever let you in. Easier to break it off best friends. I don't really understand myself. I don't really understand, need help. I don't wanna be left on.
The Asus Vivobook Pro 15 definitely has a hefty price tag, putting it well into premium laptop territory. However, the fact is, this is not your average machine. This is a A-tier spec device that's designed to run heavy-duty use cases, whether it's video editing, photo editing, running games, whatever it might be. It's a great high-end device. Also, combined with its crisp 3K display, exceptionally well-designed keyboard, great port diversity, you get a lot of functional use out of this thing. If you have a heavy-duty use case, whether it's in the world of general productivity or even some casual gaming on the side, this is a device you can trust to get it done. However, if your use case is more general in nature and you don't necessarily need all the heavy weightlifting the device offers, you might be better off getting one of the more standard Vivobook models or looking at other options that probably cost significantly less in the general productivity world. Let me know your thoughts on the Vivobook Pro. If you already have one, I'd love to hear thoughts as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button and sub to our channel. Links to the product will be in the video description below.